Unk Bowl delivered and then some. 40-year-old Joe Flacco, aging like fine wine, pulls off a thrilling upset for the Bengals, taking down 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. We'll show you what you missed and tell you what it all means. I'm Doug Kezirian. This is Hard Pass, also available in podcast. It was dubbed Unk Bowl, a pair of QBs in their 40s squaring off in prime time on Thursday Night Football and letting their arm cannons fire footballs. And it just may have produced the game of the year. Aaron Rodgers and Joe Flacco combined nearly 700 yards passing, 81 pass attempts, and 7 touchdowns. That all produced a game-winning field goal in the closing seconds. Bengals upset the Steelers a week after Cincy acquired Flacco in a trade with a division rival. Safe to say this is exactly what Mike Tomlin was worried about last week.
You know, to be honest, it was shocking to me. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us, because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings.
That's a pretty rare version of Tomlin, who called out Browns general manager Andrew Berry for giving a division rival a QB of Flacco's caliber. It proved pretty accurate. Flacco pushed all the right buttons, torching a Steelers defense that's really been more bark than bite. Not the vintage Steelers D we have seen in recent years. Numerous plays proved pivotal, including this improvisation by Flacco, where instead of handing it off, he kept the ball for a 13-yard scamper that led to a first down. Could have been a big one. It was late in the fourth quarter. Could have maybe helped ice the game, but instead, Cincy ended up punting. Nonetheless, it was just one of those nights for Flacco. Afterwards, the crowd understood what transpired to make Flacco a Bengal.
Happy crowd of Bengals fans. 33-31 victory over the Steelers, and if you can't hear it, the shout is saying, "Thank you, Cleveland." Joe Flacco, Jamar Chase joining us on set right now.
Yeah, thanks to that Cleveland trade, Bengals all of a sudden maybe in the playoff mix. Fans are rejuvenated. Since he's 3-4, now just a game and a half back of Pittsburgh in the AFC North. Star quarterback Joe Burrow has been out with the injury, could return this year, maybe end of December, but perhaps 40-year-old Joe Flacco is all this team needs, because he makes up for that lack of mobility with arm strength and fully understanding NFL defenses. The brain is sharp, and all that experience matters. And the Steelers had no answer for Flacco and Jamar Chase, who he targeted 18 times. Cincy down 1, approaching field goal range, also worried about the clock. Flacco calls for T. Higgins, and he does the right thing by sliding. Huge play. That allowed the Bengals to burn clock, Steelers to burn the timeouts, and then kick the go-ahead field goal with 10 seconds left. Higgins and Chase, over 250 combined receiving yards, just a week after Flacco arrived from Cleveland. But really, it only took one game for Flacco to realize that these wideouts were truly special.
After last week's game, it wasn't even like we did anything crazy, but I was on the phone with my dad, I was on the phone with a couple of my brothers, and we were just laughing at like how absurd they are. and I think for me, it was the simple things that you don't even like realize is super impressive, but they caught a couple balls that like a lot of guys would go to the ground for and catch with their chest, and they were just plucking it out of the air.
And so this brings us to a heat check, and we have some good ones on social media that was really resonating throughout Thursday Night Football. And I love this one from Barstool. Jake Browning watching Flacco run the throw the ball to Jamar Chase play, and that funny meme of the obvious. Yeah, 18 targets. Just get the ball to Chase. Joe Flacco and Mike Tomlin's nightmares with Jim from The Office, of course. Tomlin knew what was going on, and then that soundbite that we showed you regarding complaining last week about a division rival getting Joe Flacco. Now, if not for Pittsburgh's horrible coverage on Chase or lack thereof, the headlines could be all about 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. 4 touchdown passes, including this rollout and rope to Pat Freiermuth on 2nd and 20. 68-yard score, giving the Steelers the lead with 2:21 to go. Now, on that play, the celebration became too much for Broderick Jones, who tackles his QB in the celebration, and the QB is furious with his 6'5", 311-pound offensive lineman. But that touchdown left too much time for Flacco to drive and get the game-winning field goal. However, Rodgers did have one final shot. The old man can still chuck it. 69.8 yards in the air. That's the longest recorded NFL pass attempt since at least 2017. Hail Mary, that's synonymous with Rodgers, but it did not drop. So Rodgers, a solid game, but truthfully, 2 interceptions were the difference makers. One was not his fault. This was an epic pick by DJ Turner II, stripping DK Metcalf and gaining possession while also getting a knee down in bounds. This was right before halftime on Cincy's 30-yard line, so it was going to be some points for the Steelers one way or another. Now, the under interception came right before that, and that one was on Rodgers. First half, first down, ill-advised, deep throw in terms of the decision, and then it was offline. So a total force. And really just a bad move for Rodgers. Now, Flacco was incredible, and Rodgers had a good game, but the Cincinnati defense made some key plays, and it's particularly noteworthy just because it's been so bad for nearly the entire season. But they came up with those key plays, especially when the Bengals were trailing 10-0 to turn things around. And so many fun stats to take away from this one. Here's a good one. Both Flacco and Rodgers made their first career NFL starts Week 1 of the 2008 season. And here they are, 17 years later, duking it out in prime time. We also saw a couple NFL records go down. Let's hit Twitter, or X. Greg Harvey. Flacco's the first player in NFL history to reach these benchmarks in his first 2 starts with a single team. 550 passing yards or more, 5+ passing touchdowns, no picks, 60+ completions, and a completion percentage of at least 65%. Remarkable. Doug Clawson, former colleague at ESPN. Joe Flacco, first QB in NFL history with 300 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and no interceptions in a game with 4 different teams. So joining the Bengals, he did it with the Ravens, Jets, and Colts. The journeyman quarterback continuing to churn out impressive performances. But one thing that's occurred to me actually over the past year, but cemented, I'm pretty sure Flacco is going to be the last star quarterback that does not come from a power conference. Remember, he played at Delaware and was still drafted in the first round. In this current era of NIL and players able to transfer without having to sit out a year, I just don't see how a QB flies under the radar throughout college and then later thrives in the NFL. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see it happening. I think we'll either have a scenario like Trey Lance, who doesn't materialize in the NFL, that comes from a small conference, or FCS in that case, or Diego Pavia, who gets noticed and then transfers to a power conference. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. It'd be fun to see some guys from Group of 5 or even FCS thrive in the NFL. I just don't think it's going to happen, but let me know your thoughts. Join the conversation. Time now for Fans in the Stands, and this is when I get to address some comments from our most recent YouTube episode. It's from the audience, or our fans in the stands. It's also a good reminder to please like and subscribe. It really helps us tremendously with all the analytics, and that is the currency in this YouTube world. So please like and subscribe the show and leave us a rating, and also weigh in on the discussions that I've mentioned. We'd love to hear your input across the board or on any topic or any question you might have. Weigh in on the comments section. Most recent episode, here's one from Josiah Lee. Refs are human. If you were one, you would miss calls. Would you like people to say you are rigging the game? The Chiefs' sustained dominance cannot only be because of the refs, would not be possible. I agree with what you're saying, and I wasn't saying that the Chiefs' success is solely attributed to their rigging or whatever, but it speaks to the concern that's out there with the NFL in general, sports in general, but the NFL, where things break right for the Chiefs. Specifically, in that Sunday night game against the Lions, 0 penalties called. Now, it's not the first time ever in the NFL, but hadn't happened in about a year and a half. And it's the Chiefs, and there was a blatant missed cheap shot by Smith-Schuster that led to the Brian Branch scuffle punches and why he was suspended a game. There's just a narrative out there that the Chiefs can't get all these calls. So it's not just that officiating's hard and you might miss a call if you were in those shoes. It's the narrative and the optics that the Chiefs are benefiting from missed calls and whatnot, and it helps the league when that occurs. So that is really important on that front. Paul Stampignaro says, can't argue with the Baker love and agree. If it was picked right now, he wins going away. But there's many more games, and I like a dark horse who's getting better every week as the team is also. New England Patriots and Drake Bay. New England, 4-2 in the next 3 games, very winnable. And that could be a 7-2 team facing Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield. Also wanted to say thank you for the 25-1 call on the Mercury. We had a shot, and that's all you can ask for, sitting now with a 100-1 ticket on May. And Paul's talking about the odds and the betting. Yeah, I gave out the Phoenix Mercury middle of the season at 25-1, and they reached the finals, had the lead for most of game 1, and then got swept in 4 straight games. In terms of the MVP, I mean, that's how the odds work, right? The voting's not held tomorrow. They're budgeting the amount of games left, the likelihood of said candidate continuing to perform well, and then his team performing well. And that's why Baker Mayfield's not the favorite, although if voting were held today, he would win going away, but long term. So Drake May, we'll see. I mean, in his only second year, can he really pull it off? I think it might be tough for voters to get over that sort of stigma or that uneasiness of such a young quarterback, unless it's somebody so overwhelming like when Mahomes won it or when Lamar Jackson won it. 100-1 would be great. I would not bet it at 25-1, 20-1 right now. But yeah, the Patriots are certainly making a move in the AFC East. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Hard Pass. We always appreciate you weighing in, and please like and subscribe the show. And hope you enjoyed this one. And what a performance by those quarterbacks in their 40s, specifically Joe Flacco.